I'm Katie Darrell, and today I am at home and social with Gerry Beckley, singer, songwriter, co-founder of the band America. How are you, Gerry?
Katie, I'm very well. Great to see you.
You've got new music. You've got new stuff coming out. I'm so excited. Tell me all about this. Is a greatest hits album that you're releasing, right?
It's a compilation, which is I guess the common term, and I'm sometimes calling it a summation. You might know, in between all of the America albums, I have on occasion done solo projects. And so the label that has been very kind and been working with me for the last decade or so asked if it would be okay to do a compilation of these. And I think there's 5 or 6 solo albums that we put our heads together and came up with a playlist. And that's what it is.
It's a double CD, right? But then you can get it on vinyl, but not just any vinyl, Gerry. There's like color options, right?
I'm really, as you can imagine, we're all elated about the return of vinyl. We always loved vinyl. Nobody ever said, oh, when are we going to get rid of this stupid big discs? That was never part of the discussion. But buried in the last year, I remember hearing the statistic that vinyl has outsold CDs for the first time ever, and that's unfortunately more a reflection of the CD sales have gone so far down than vinyl is truly back. Having said that, we love vinyl. We love everything about it. And yes, the pressing plants that are available are starting to do color options. So why not?
Yeah, I think there are 2 color options for your album. There's a translucent, which is pretty groovy, and then like a marbleized color, correct?
Yeah. I think they were the non-color color options. When I was going through, do you want it orange? How about lime green? Nah, I don't know.
Yeah, you're like, what color is Gerry, right? If I was an ice cream flavor, what flavor would I be?
Yeah, I know. I guess that was the thought process. Anyway, honored. Double vinyl album. Pretty cool,
It is really cool. And with these double albums, there always has to be more bells and whistles. And I love some of the bells and whistles that are coming with your album because there's I think it's like 44-page book of your photography from the road, right?
Yeah, I have been shooting for decades. I started on I've always had a camera, but I started on the road when the internet started and you could send a small JPEG, a little image. I thought, God, this is great because I could send to friends and family because the number one question you get, you call in, where are you today? And I thought, well, okay, this will answer that. So for over 20 years, every day I took a picture out of my hotel window. So it was called View from My Hotel Window, and it went on forever. And as and a couple other things about that, it had to be out of my window. If like the Eiffel Tower was out the other side of the hotel, I couldn't change rooms. It had to be what I was looking at. So it was kind of a neat photo study. And eventually I just thought, I'm enjoying this. I'll just keep the camera with me all the time. So now, and in this collection, 40 or so pictures, it's not just pictures from the hotel.
Do you, is this a hobby now? Or do you go out on a Saturday with your camera and take pictures?
That's what I call it. It's a hobby. I know some of my closest friends are professional photographers. Henry Diltz, who you might know the name, who shot a lot of our covers and many great covers. They are what I call real photographers. And so I am honored that they would even, look at my pictures and they send me lovely critiques and things. And but yes, it's a hobby. That's the best term.
Well, Keeping the Light On is the album. It's due out March 26th. It's a compilation, as you're calling it, a best of your solo work. For those of you just tuning in, I'm talking to Gerry Beckley, singer, songwriter, and co-founder of the band America. I love America. I really do. This is the lexicon. I grew up on this music, all right? My parents had their vinyls, 8 tracks, if you will, as well. And I've always loved the sound of your band because it's familiar. It's good to have on and just feel like you're at home. Was that always your plan to have the music feel? I mean, it feels like a warm blanket at times. I don't mean to be like dorky.
Yeah, I guess it could be a lot of worse things that could be said. We had a tour manager for many years that he used to say to us, "Yeah, guys, it's like nothing can hurt me now music." And I thought, oh, okay, that's a pretty cool term. I don't think when you're sitting there trying to make, sorry, I'm just going to change when when you're trying to make the best
You're
records you
holding it
can.
up, ladies and gentlemen. Gerry's. Let's see those biceps. You're
Handheld.
holding this by hand. I mean,
Handheld, not this hand. When you're making a record, I don't think anybody says we really want to make something kind of familiar. You know, it's not like that's not the target you head for. But we're very, very fortunate. A lot of the songs have become part of the zeitgeist. You know, they've permeated the culture. Choose your avenues. There are kids who come to us and say that their first exposure was Grand Theft Auto. Horse is in Grand Theft Auto. Sister Goldenhair was in The Sopranos. These songs permeate the culture, and we're honored to be able to say that.
you know, back in the day, you won the Grammy in 1972 for Best New Artist. I know it's going down memory lane, but can you walk us through, you know, hearing about this nomination and winning? And obviously, I mean, this was, you know, the Grammys hadn't been around for a long time, these Grammy Awards. So this was, you were on the forefront of, you know, being a Grammy winning artist.
That year, they were, the celebration was in Nashville. And we were on the road, of course. We'd had a very big year. Their album and single had been #1 around the world, really. And so when the nominations came, Best New Artist is a lovely category, and it is obviously a collection of who's really debuted in this year. And unfortunately, when you look at the list of Best New Artists, it can also read like a kind of one-hit wonders, because the pressure of having a big year, it's a very hard thing. It's hard enough to have a success, but then to follow it up. So you have this, what they call a sophomore jinx or whatever. It's in our case, and I like to mention this for many reasons, but the nominees, just to show you how rich the year of 72 was, the nominees were ourselves, the Eagles, Loggins and Messina, John Prine, and Harry Chapin. That's all in 1 year. So it's pretty far out. And we were going to go. We had a night off. We were in New Orleans, and there was plans being made for us to go. And at the last minute, we were told, no, it's not happening. We're not going. And so we were watching on TV, and it is usually the first award is Best New Artist. And they said, before we announce the winners, here are nominees, Loggins and Messina. And they performed Your Mama Don't Dance or something. And we thought, well, they must have won. They must be, yeah, if they're there. And so we were kind of went down a notch thinking, oh, well. And then the winner was America, which is going to be a surprise regardless, but just fantastic to watch. And there are people that are on hold in case the artist is not there, and accepting the award for is, and in our case, it was Dusty Springfield, which was also pretty cool. We'd never met Dusty Springfield, but she was there, and she said, I'm sure the lads are very happy. Yeah, which is true. And then I also like to add this. A couple weeks later, I got a box on my doorstep in LA from the NARAS, from the Grammy Association, with the 3 dreaded little words, "Some assembly required." And you had to put the Grammy together. You had to kind of screw in the little bell from the Victrola, you know.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. That is so cool. You know, you mentioned all these people that were nominated at the same time as you. Certainly you've toured with so many fantastic other bands that you respect, we respect, that are just rock and roll favorites. Who are some of the bands that you loved touring with back in the day that just really were top notch?
Well, the band that we toured the most with was the Beach Boys. We did hundreds of shows with the Beach Boys. We were huge fans of theirs, as was the whole world. Surfin' Safari was the first album I bought. So when they came to London in 71 to tour to promote one of their albums, we were now on the same label, Brother Records. Their label was on Warner Brothers. And so we followed them around like puppies, and we got to know them and stuff. And pretty soon, by the end of that tour, we were up doing the encore with them. So we've done hundreds of shows with them. And I can't tell you how fantastic it is to sit, you know, in the wings and listen to things like God Only Knows and stuff. We lost Carl many years ago. He was a dear friend of mine and Dewey's. And, you know, that's about the best evening of music you could be treated to. Having said that, we've done many dates, did a whole summer with our friends, the group Chicago. That was a great package. Robert is a dear friend. We've gigged with most people, you know. Did a show with the Spinners once. You might not think that was, you know, a kind of a given as a combo, but I love the Spinners, and that was fantastic. You know, when you're backstage and you get to hang with these guys and stuff, it's great.
You had the honor of getting to work with George Martin, the record producer, who many people know, really helped shape the sound of the Beatles. What is it like being in the studio with someone like George Martin?
Well, it was a dream. Obviously, if there's one group other than the Beach Boys that we had in the highest esteem was, of course, the Beatles, us and everybody else. We knew about George. I mean, obviously, if you're a teenager listening to this music and you're listening in headphones and stuff, all of the contributions that he made, there was always kind of an invisible hand in the Beatles stuff that, somebody's steering the ship. And in general, it was George. And I don't want to give him more credit than he deserves. But if you think about Yesterday, the beautiful, the most recorded track in history, that's just Paul and a string quartet. Eleanor Rigby is strings. This was all George's contribution. It wasn't just arranger, although he was and was for us too. That when I'm asked about George, I say the thing that he brought to us more than anything was focus. We had started to, freewheeling, let's see how long. And these sessions could go on and on and on. And when we brought George back in, tightened it all up. What used to be a couple months was now a couple of weeks of work.
So I've definitely, read in more than one place about, there's you, and then there's Dewey in the band America. And you seem to bring a lot more of the pop sound, the melodic tones. And Dewey would bring kind of a little bit more of the folk. Was that always the case, or is that now how the story is told?
Well, I think it was always the case. And it certainly hasn't steered beyond that. I think it's still true. If you think about that, for most people, even though it wasn't on the first album, when we first made the album, Horse was added to the first album. So Horse with No Name, very good example of Dewey's, wonder. It's an incredible, surreal story with fantastic lyrics and imagery and stuff. But we followed that with I Need You, which was a ballad of mine. So there's a pretty good snapshot of the two. And I think what was true then is still true today. I have a more of a pop sensibility, and he is he's a far, not, I don't want to say folky, but he's got a different take. The joke for us is that if it has two chords, Dewey wrote it. If it has 102 chords, I wrote it.
Well, yeah. So you like to do things a lot, and including when it comes to songwriting, you're a believer of, write as many songs as you can, and then, go through them and pick the two that are good. Not that the other ones aren't good, but, find the cream, get the cream, to rise to the top, if you will. So with your new album, or this compilation album that you're releasing, what can you tell us about things that you kind of picked up off the cutting room floor and dusted off?
Well, there's a few tracks. And so my saying is that I come from you have to write 10 to get 2. That's what I say. It's like, okay. And in theory, the more you write, the more options you have of picking. And, this one is great, or that one needs a bridge, whatever. But it doesn't mean the other 8 are crap. They don't all just go right in the bin. Some aren't they don't come home for whatever reason, and they need a little work, or this one always needed another verse. So there has been quite a lot of that over the years. And in this case, we went back and found 4 things that were, just not on the solo records, and not for any reason other than they didn't stack up, but they needed work. So it was kind of neat because it gave me an opportunity to address them and also bring them up to date in a sense. When you go in and address a song that you might have been starting years and years ago, it's interesting because a lot of it still holds up. And you go, oh, this is good. This is great. And then some of the other things you go, no, I got to redo this, or I have to re-sing that bit or something. So that's how it came about.
Where do you store and place your songs that you are working on? Are you a sing into the cell phone type of guy? Do you have a home studio that you run to really quick?
I've always had home studios. And in fact, we have a dear friend, Jeff Larson, who's helped with this compilation, who's what we call our archivist, because I've had so many different studios. And when I say that, I mean, it might have been in the same room, but when you change all the equipment and you switch to Pro Tools or something, all the gear gets adjusted. But when I moved to Venice 8 years ago, I didn't put a studio there. I thought, I'm just going to give this a break for a while. And unfortunately, 1 year turned into 2. It's a tiny little house, and we were very busy on the road. So for the first time in years, didn't have a studio. Now, I don't know if you know, but I live in Sydney, Australia. We're talking across the ocean at the moment.
Yet you
And
feel so close.
hey, not a bad connection. But I built a studio here, basically a workstation. And this is a home studio with Pro Tools and a laptop and a variety of guitars and things.
Nice stuff back here, that's for sure. I want to play Rock and Tell with you. This is show and tell with rock memorabilia. What do you have at arm's reach that you could show us and let us geek out on?
So one thing is this year has included, for the first time ever, we have a biography. I don't know if you know that, but we were in the middle of our 50th year celebration as a group.
Sure.
So I'm very happy to talk about the solo album and all this stuff, but I'm just going to, at the time, this is a fantastic book, if I don't say so myself. But it's a lady named Jude Warren who wrote this, and it's a biography of the group. And I really do recommend it. Authorized biography. The foreword is written by our friend Billy Bob Thornton. But let me just give you a little backstory. We have been approached by many great writers over the years, and some we had heard of, and others we weren't familiar. But when you do a little research, clearly they know their stuff. And we were starting to address maybe it's time, it's coming up. This was two years ago, coming up time. Maybe we push go on this. And a young lady from New York named Jude Warren came to us, and she had prepped for this. And the kind of synopsis that she presented was just so great, far, far better than anything. And she'd cut it all up into chapters on the first part of the journey. And we thought, God, you think your 9 fans or something. And then here was a lady that we'd never met who knew almost as much about us as we did. And she's done a fantastic job. So allow me to promote that for a little bit. And then in the endless, when you do 50 years of recording or something, you end up with a lot of stuff. This here is an America box set, and it's called Half Century. And it is it's 8 discs.
Wow.
For those of you who don't have enough America already. And let me just open it up, because we did have, and it's been assembled by a company in the UK. So hold on pardon the handheld again.
All right, we're hanging on. We won't get seasick.
Hold on. There we go. There you go. And it's a fantastic box with Half Century limited edition. Every one is numbered. And the actual thing is cut up into all kinds of different. There's a live DVD of a concert we did in Germany, Bremen. Poison Oak Sessions is an entire album we recorded at Dewey's home studio when he lived up in the Bay Area, and never finished, and so we went back to that. So there's a couple of things.
Is it true that you guys named the band America because you were living overseas and you didn't want people to think that you were British guys trying to sound American? Or is that an old wives' tale?
That's kind of the truth. We were gigging all over England, not just London. We were gigging all over Europe. We had a van, and we would put it on a ferry and go play all over Holland and stuff. But it was a way to say that we're American guys. There's a lot of groups playing all over London. There's also the story, both of these are true. There's a story of, there was a jukebox at the base where Dan was working. I think Dan and Dewey were there for a while, cafeteria. It was called the Americana. So when we saw the Americana, I think that was more an affirmation. Well, there it must be, maybe it's a sign, let's call the group America. So yeah, that's it. Between the two is somewhere the truth lies.
I love it. Can I get you to show us one more thing for Rock and Tell? I know you've got those guitars over there.
So my dear friend and guitar tech, Travis Jameson, had sent me a few guitars, and it started with, I need an acoustic. You always write on an acoustic and stuff. And then I needed some electric guitars. So eventually I started to miss some of my favorites. So I'm just going to show you that right here is the guitar I play on stage every night. And normally you would leave all of that stuff in the locker, but this is a beautiful Gretsch Duo Jet that is my #1 stage guitar. The good news is I'm not missing, something that is normally in my hands every night, or virtually every night of my life. But the other thing is, when we get this back in gear, I got to send it back, because it can't sit here. Obviously I have a few guitars, and there's a bass, and this is one of my this is a Tom Petty signature Rickenbacker. And
give me a wide shot of that. Let me see. Can you pan down so we see the body?
Yeah. So there's that.
There we go.
There it is. So there's a Gretsch, and there's the Ricky, and there's a little Fender Mustang bass. This is one here is a Jazzcaster, which is made by Bill Nash, my dear friend Bill Nash, who makes Fender clones, or and Jazzcaster is a guitar that didn't really exist. It's a combination of a Telecaster and a Jazzmaster, but it's a lovely instrument.
Gerry, do you, when you're at home and you're picking up the guitar to play, do you prefer to tune by ear, or do you pull out the old tuning machine?
Now, full disclosure, I have tuners, but no, I always tune by ear. In fact, I'll tell you an interesting story. We have been going over a fantastic set of recordings that were made in the Hollywood Bowl in the 70s. We did a concert with the LA Philharmonic conducted by George Martin. And it's really lovely and stuff, but obviously it was before the days of tuners and having guitar techs and strobe tuners and things. So you do this great song, and after every song, there's this tuning up. And I had forgotten how prevalent that problem was. It's like you had to continually, somebody at the piano is giving you an E, and you're having to tune it up. It was an issue. And so now I have those little strobes, snark tuners, or whatever you like.
Gerry Beckley has a new album out. It is Keeping the Light On. It's a compilation. It's a greatest hits. It's fantastic. And, I hope everyone goes out and grabs it. March 26th is when it will drop. Thank you for spending so much time with me today.
Thank you so much. You look great there in LA. Please send my love to anybody that you know, that I know, and send my love and support to everybody there. I will be back. Obviously, we have shows coming up. Just when is the question, and as you've heard from everybody, we just don't know. But thank you for your time. It's great to see you.
Thank you so much. Stay safe, all right? Hey there. Thanks for watching Access TV. Subscribe, follow, like, and do all the good stuff. And make sure you leave a comment below. I don't know. Just let us know what your favorite Access TV show is, or who your favorite bands are, and what artists you're into, or just say hi, man. I'd like to be told hi. We love hearing from you. That's the point, all right? Keep it coming.